Hi everyone, very good afternoon. Welcome to this detailed analysis of MICAT 2024 day 1. My name is Abhilasha and I'm the first one who came home. So the interesting thing was today in the Noida Center, or I don't know where all it happened. That's what we came to know, that there was some technical glitch in the exam. And so the exam did not start at 9 a.m. sharp. It started at 10:30, which means a 1.5 hour delay. Of course, the admit card had stated very clearly that you might have to stay at the examination center till 6 p.m. So we were all prepared and mentally okay with that. But that 1.5 hour delay kind of derailed the preparation for so many of us for MyCat 2. If you can hear me and see me, give me a quick yes or no, so I know I'm speaking to people who can hear me and see me. So then we'll be happier. I'll be a happier person. And we'll talk a little bit about my experience today. And of course, Naveen sir will be joining us in just a short while, and he will tell us more about the quant section and everything else. Yes. Hi, Palak. Hi, Janendra. Hi, Harshit. Hi, everybody. How was your MyCat? Give me a yes, give me a good, bad, ugly, whatever you feel like. Did you feel yes and no? You are an Indian engineer. What is this yes and no? Was it a good one, everyone? Was it a bad one? Was it an ugly one? You can give me an easy, medium, difficult. That's how you can rate your exam. Very quickly, let's hear from all of you how you felt was the exam. Of course, the first 1.5 hours, I'm sure everybody felt really, really disappointed, disheartened. Some people in my center went off to sleep promptly. They were like able to, including yours truly. Mm. Wonderful, Jenny. And you can write MyCat 2. It doesn't have 3 editions. It just has 2 editions. Yeah. So we will have an analysis for MyCat 2 also. But of course, whatever has happened in MyCat 1, let's talk a little bit about all of that. I'm waiting for a few more people to join us. So quickly tell me, guys, if you found the paper easy, medium, or difficult. Give me an E, M, or D accordingly. All of you, quickly. Let's get. Okay, Palak, wonderful. If you will be writing MyCat 2, today's session will be helpful to you because then you can, of course, tweak your preparation accordingly. I found the MyCat 2 examination, MyCat 1 exam that we wrote today to be quite interesting and had some things that I will share with you. All right, come on, guys, very quickly. I don't think there is anyone here who has written the paper because I don't see any easy, mediums, and difficults. But chalo, nevertheless, for all those who are preparing for MyCat 2, hi, sir, welcome.
Good afternoon, man. Good afternoon,
Good
everyone.
afternoon. Good
So, how
afternoon.
was the
So,
paper?
just सर पेपर तो बहुत रॉकिंग था मैं अभी
Rocking, eh?
दैट इज व्हाट आई वाज शेयरिंग with our audience that the paper started 1.5 hours late, so that
Mm-hmm.
kind of derailed, the preparation, the energy, the enthu that we all went in with. Obviously, if it's supposed to start at 9 and it starts at 10:30, everybody is
Mm.
like so disheartened. Everybody started talking, walking around in the center, and then so that was very disheartening. I spoke to a few students also after the exam. So what they were saying was that मैम वो जो 1.5 घंटा वेट करना पड़ गया उससे पूरी एनर्जी खत्म हो गई. And I
True.
can believe that because people left their homes at 7. The entry time was 8 o'clock. So that somewhere was very difficult for, I think, for at least me and the students in my center. They found that to be very difficult. So that
Mm.
was that. बाकी तो एग्जाम जैसा होता है MyCat वैसा ही था. थोड़े से
Ah.
झटके धचके they always have that. So all the usual ingredients of MyCat were there. So
There used to be a time when we used to say कि MICAT exam, अरे पढ़ने की जरूरत नहीं है, हो जाएगा. Now,
ऐसे नहीं है सर, अब तो
बहुत पढ़ना
बिल्कुल
पड़ता.
नहीं है.
अब तो
बहुत
बिल्कुल नहीं
पढ़ना
है.
पड़ता है and there is such a variety of questions that they're asking. See, they
Mm.
start with the psychometric, then they go
Right.
on to the descriptive, and then that 80 minutes of hell
Very
where you
difficult
have,
paper, very lengthy.
yes, very lengthy. And the worst thing is the number of options vary from question to question. So some questions have 5 options, some have 4, some have 8, and
8.
you're left wondering, oh my god, what am I going to do? Because if it's an 8 option question, then it is going to be difficult. You have to look
True.
at so many options and analyze. Otherwise, acha, and the thing was, the scroll bar was there, but if you didn't notice that there was a scroll, you would have missed out the last 2 options. So for
Right.
my first 2 questions, I did that. Then suddenly it struck me, how come there are 6 options? There should be 8. So I went back to those questions and marked those questions, and then somehow got it right. So yeah, so that was also there. Anyway, so let's get started. We were talking about, I was just waiting for you to log in, and then we can get started with our analysis. So,
Sure.
what was your take on the MICA paper, sir? I'm sure you're already aware of what happened.
Yes. So I found the paper to be difficult as well as lengthy. So I don't think any of the question from any of the sections of Quant was below moderate. It was either moderate or above moderate. So the type of
Right.
questions that we generally find in moderate or difficult paper when we give CAT marks or ZAT marks, there were so many questions of those type. They were very lengthy. There was one set of reasoning where we had 8 additional statements after going through a lot of, a big stem. So very time consuming.
Yes,
There
that
was
was
there
something
was
that
not a
was
single
really
question that I
working.
found was a sitter. बिना पेन के एक क्वेश्चन
And
में
I'll tell you something, in the reasoning question, there were 4 verbal reasoning questions which had to do with
Hmm.
vocabulary.
Hmm.
I looked at those questions. I was wondering what is the connect between these questions. I was unable to do those. And I'm being very
Hmm.
honest, even though I am very good at vocabulary and everything, but I just
Hmm.
left those 4 questions because I was unable to find a connect between those words. So yes,
True.
so that was there. I'm accepting the fact that मेरे से नहीं हो रहे थे वो questions. तो था, आई थिंक यस, मॉडरेट टू डिफिकल्ट सा ही पेपर कहूंगी.
Hmm.
चलिए, लेट अस गो थ्रू आवर एनालिसिस एंड वील क्विकली
Sure.
डिस्कस इट सेक्शन बाय सेक्शन. So
Sure.
of course, here we have our small table that we created. The psychometric test, as expected, 150 questions, single statement. There were 8 options that you could mark off with. So there was totally agree or totally disagree on the far ends, and then strongly agree and strongly disagree, and then agree and disagree, and I think somewhat agree and somewhat disagree. So those were those 8 options that you had to mark. And then the questions kind of rotated. I have noticed this last year also, that these 150 questions, they will ask you the same question in 2 different ways. So first they will ask, okay, so teamwork is required for I think teamwork is required for organizations. And then there will be another question somewhere down the line which will say, I don't think teamwork is required in organizations. So the psychometric test is more a test of consistency than anything else. Whatever you feel, are you able to remain consistent with these questions? With your answers. That has been my feel last year also, and whenever I have written MICAT, that is what I felt. So these are questions that you genuinely answer. You don't. There's no need to fake it, because if you fake it, you're not going to make it.
Make it. True. True.
Some of the other question, there will be a discrepancy, and that will be there. So psychometric, that first 30 minutes went off like zip zap zoom, just happened. I'm sure everybody else also felt the same, because I could see in my center children doing the psychometric test. They took 30 minutes. So that was that. Then the second section, sir, the descriptive test. Now,
Mm-hmm.
earlier they used to give 2 picture compositions and 2 essays. Now, sir,
Mm.
now for the last 2 years, since last year, they're giving 3 compositions and 1 picture composition. So I'll just take
Mm.
1 minute. There's somebody at my door and ringing away to glory.
Sure. So Aryan has a query. During descriptive on the last question, I didn't save next. Will it auto save or not? Aryan, most likely it won't. But if the system takes it as, if it was synced with the server, it may accept it, but huge chance that it will not take it.
सर उसमें जो साइकोमेट्रिक जो डिस्क्रिप्टिव था उसमें भी यू कुड हैव मार्क्ड फॉर रिव्यू. तो अगर वो किसी ने मार्क फॉर रिव्यू किया तो वो एक्सेप्ट कर लेगा, वरना नहीं करेगा.
आपने सेव ही नहीं करा है, सो इट वोंट.
अगर सेव नहीं किया है तो फिर गया. नाउ जो डिस्क्रिप्टिव टेस्ट था, सो द फर्स्ट 3 questions, one was that would you there is merit in hierarchy or something like that, so you had to write 3 views in favor of it. That was the first essay. And the second was that you had to write 3 views against it. So that was the second essay that they had. And then the third was that if you are a young manager in your organization, would you promote hierarchy, and how would you promote it, and what will be its benefits? So those were the 3 questions that you had to write the essay in. Aryan, the essay is quite important. Let me be very honest. From what we understand, that if your essay is good and it is graded well, then you may get a call at a lower percentile. But if your essay is not as good, or for that matter, if you haven't written your essay, then you may have to score a higher score. So that's what I'll say. I'm not saying it will affect your chance. Depends also on what you have done in the other sections. So those were the 3 essays in the descriptive. Picture composition बहुत interesting था. So there were 4 pictures. One picture had a man standing in a market, and there were 3-4 those the vendors who have those umbrellas. That was one very colorful picture. Then the other picture was there were 3 suitcases stacked against the wall, and there was one brown paper bag on top of one of the suitcases. So that was that. Then the third picture was a plate in which there was a slab of butter and one bee or a fly. I think it was a bee, I'm not sure, that was sitting on it. And the fourth was a very largish metal camel, and you could read some name of the restaurant behind that. So those were the 4 pictures that were there for the picture composition. So अच्छा था, मतलब topic तो अच्छे ही थे. Merit in hierarchy was a topic that is of course very controversial but very interesting. So that was there. And picture composition अच्छा लगा, मुझे तो मजा आया. मैंने अच्छा सा एक बढ़िया सी story बनाई और लिख डाली. So that was that in the picture composition.
कि बाहर घूमने जा रहे हैं और उसके बाद फिर खाना दिख गया तो भाग गए सारा सामान वाना छोड़ के.
बस कुछ ऐसे ही था. अब देयर इज सो लिटिल टाइम आल्सो सर. अगर आप बहुत टाइम लगाओगे सोचने में तो वो होगा नहीं. 25 मिनट्स 4 essays and it is quick. तो वो फास्ट तो करना ही है. तो मैंने क्या किया, मैंने फर्स्ट 2 जो है जिसमें प्रोज एंड कॉन्स लिखने थे, मैंने वो पॉइंट वाइज लिखे, और तीसरा वाला थोड़ा डिटेल में लिखा, और चौथी स्टोरी थी तो वो पूरी कहानी लिख डाली मैंने. So that was that. So interesting, very nice. This was a good one. If we come to divergent, if we come to the next third section, sir आप ही बताइए थोड़ा रीजनिंग के बारे में. मैं ही बोलती रहूंगी वरना.
नहीं, so reasoning was, as I said, it was lengthy. So I'm not sure about how should I go with verbal reasoning wala part, but the basic reasoning questions were very lengthy. So direction wala question was lengthy. Blood relations ka question tha, that was lengthy, because it was symbol based also. So wo hota hai na ki plus is considered as brother sister. It was lengthy. Then
very lengthy.
There was a square arrangement where 8 people are sitting around it, all facing towards the center. Their ages were given, but the ages were not related as numbers, but they were rather related ki ye se elder hai, se younger hai. So that part made it difficult because it had again 8 additional info. So 8 additional info padhne mein bhi bahut time lagta. It takes a lot of time to read that, and then there is comparison based. It's not like you have numbers and you can quickly compare it. Less, more, not less. Yes, these all slow you down. Alphanumeric wise, it was okayish. That was 3 letters and 1 digit combination where 4 or 5 words were given, and then you need to figure out the 5th one. So that was easy. So you can see that, and डाइवर्जेंट एंड जनरल कन्वर्जेंट थिंकिंग में वो जो 10 to 11 दिख रहा है, लेस देन हाफ तो आपके लॉजिकल रीजनिंग वाले थे. That were doable. Visual reasoning where there are two questions. One was complete the sequence and another one was odd one out. So it depends how much you have practiced. So I think both were doable. And then there was one symbol based that were disguised. I think this was a question on एक second. हाँ, mathematical inequalities वाला था, where the inequality was disguised as symbols, not literal greater than less than वाला.
All right. So क्वांट का भी कुछ बता दीजिए. फील्ड कट ऑफ्स तो हमने यहाँ पे लिख ही रखे हैं, नंबर ऑफ डुएबल क्वेश्चंस तो डाल ही दिए हैं.
हाँ, I think this is in sync with what we had previous year.
Yes, almost,
you know.
almost.
So it the cutoff was very less. It was on an average 50% of the total questions. उतना ही था overall.
हाँ, तो
So
इस बार भी उतना ही जाने वाला है मुझे लगता है.
ठीक है. Sarnik saying it just say if same thing happened to me and at the end where it shows how many questions I answered, it confirmed that I had answered all the questions. So Sarnik, like I said, if the server was in sync and if you do not save in next, it will most likely not accept it. But if the server is in the sync and the moment you click it, if it saves, great. ठीक है, आगे बढ़ते हैं.
हाँ जी सर, बिल्कुल. ऑलराइट, तो एक बार वर्बल एबिलिटी के क्वेश्चंस भी देख लूं. तो वर्बल एबिलिटी, ऑफ कोर्स सर, द क्वेश्चंस वर फेयरली, I won't say any of the questions were easy. So moderate से difficult ही थे. एक तो the biggest problem is that there are so many options. 8 options in a question means you will take time to do it, and also you will have to sift through every option. Interestingly, this time paragraph based questions were many. So they had given you closures. Now, so closure is of course a passage with some words missing. Now they've given you 5 closures, which meant instead of reading one statement, you had to read one entire paragraph of 180 190 words and then fill those 4 blanks with 8 options. So that kind of increased the difficulty level majorly. There were 2 types of closures. There was one which was purely vocab based, and there were 2 questions that were idiom based. Now the idiom based questions, the idioms were very easy. I mean, something like call it a day and raining cats and dogs, that level of idioms were there. But the problem was that so many had to be filled in, that became the problem. So the options kind of made it really tough in the closures. Moderate difficult. There was one para jumble, there was one para summary, there was one odd one out. The odd one out had 5 options, so that was the only question I think which had 5 options. Para jumbles ठीक था, very doable. Sentence completion का एक question था, which was also fairly doable, but problem was again 8 options were there. So if you went through those 8 options, वो time लग रहा था. तो क्वेश्चन वैसे डूएबल था, सेंटेंस वैसे डूएबल था, बट बिकॉज ऑप्शंस इतने सारे थे कि आपको, एंड वर्ड्स भी थोड़े से ट्रिकी थे. So 1 or 2 words were like words like why and all, which generally if you don't work on your vocabulary you may not have that. So those were the questions. Then grammar based question एक ही आया था, बहुत बढ़िया क्वेश्चन था, बहुत easy था. Sentence correction, 4 sentences were given, you had to identify which was the correct sentence, and the errors were very simple. It was like in या on है या was doing, is doing है, as easy as that. So that was a very doable question. Summary question also was fairly doable. तो ये करने लायक questions थे, अच्छे questions थे. Then
okay, sorry to interrupt, man. I think when it comes to specifically verbal, when it comes to grammar based or you have got और कौन से questions थे, you have got sentence completion based, summary based. in these types of questions, if you're not confident, when you read it and usi samay, if you're not able to understand that this is the answer,
हाँ,
then going through the
then it's
options is a
gone.
very bad way.
हाँ, exactly,
बच्चा
exactly.
और कंफ्यूज होगा क्योंकि 8
हाँ,
ऑप्शंस हैं.
हाँ,
कोई
और
ना कोई
ऑप्शंस
एटलीस्ट 2
कोई
और 3
इजी नहीं
ऑप्शंस
है.
विल बी क्लोज. हाँ,
हाँ,
तो
कोई ऑप्शंस
क्लोजनेस के
इजी
कारण
नहीं है,
वो
क्लोज
खराब हो
नहीं है.
जाएगा.
हाँ, हाँ, हाँ. तो
सो
ये तो
दैट
है,
इज
दैट इज
वन
व्हाई
टास्क.
ये एग्जाम इतना ट्रिकी हो जाता है, स्पेशली वर्बल के लिए. एंड माइका बीइंग माइका, दे आर सो हेवीली इनटू advertising, communication. So I think the idea of testing the skills of vocabulary and language makes a lot of sense, but yes, that makes it kind of tough. तो है, वो मुश्किल तो है. तो इन्फ्रेंस में हमारे अच्छे क्वेश्चन थे. एक इन्फ्रेंस का पैसेज बेस था और एक आरसी के अंदर थे, तो दैट वाज ओके. सिनोनिम्स एंड वन वर्ड सब्स्टिट्यूशन इंटरेस्टिंगली बहुत डिफरेंट तरीके से है. जनरली एक वर्ड आता था, उसका सिनोनिम बताओ या उसका सब्स्टिट्यूशन बताओ. दिस टाइम व्हाट दे डिड वाज दे गेव एन एंटायर पैसेज and 4 words were underlined and you had to identify the synonyms of those 4 words, and again 4 options or 8 options were given. So that was again a typical question जो लंबा था. ऑड सेंटेंस आउट वाज वेरी वेरी इजी. बस 5 ऑप्शंस थे तो आपको एक खोजना था, वो डिफिकल्टी हो जा रही थी. रीडिंग कॉम्प्रिहेंशन, नाउ रीडिंग कॉम्प्रिहेंशन वाज, I say 2 inferential question, 2 accept questions, and 1 para summary question was there. So with the minute you have the accept question, so it's true accept or false accept, the level of difficulty of the question goes up. So that happened in the RC. The passage was very readable. If we were to look at it, कुछ एक्रोफिली और पॉलिटोफिली ऐसे करके कोई 2 वर्ड्स के ऊपर बेस था, बट वेरी रीडेबल. आइड से अगर उसका एफ के ग्रेड हम देखते तो अराउंड 13-14 होता, तो वेरी वेरी रीडेबल पैसेज. बट क्वेश्चन में क्योंकि फॉल्स एक्सेप्ट या ट्रू एक्सेप्ट आ गया, सो दैट काइंड ऑफ टुक द लेवल ऑफ डिफिकल्टी अ लिटिल बिट हायर. मिसिंग सेंटेंस थोड़ा सा ट्रिकी था, बिकॉज आपको उन्होंने जगह नहीं दी थी कहाँ पे सेंटेंस लगाना है. तो अब आपके पास पैसेज तो है, but you didn't have that place where to put it, so you assume that वो last sentence होगा, but last sentence में बहुत अच्छे से fit नहीं हो रहा था. तो that is why the missing sentence became a little difficult, I'll say, or very peculiar. When I looked at it and I was like, अरे ये है क्या, समझ ही नहीं आ रहा है. तो that made it just that little bit, tad bit difficult, but otherwise paper, yes, I'll say moderate-ish difficult कहूंगी, और क्या लेंदी कहूंगी मेनली, तो क्योंकि 8 ऑप्शंस करने में बहुत टाइम लगता है. एंड सम क्वेश्चंस 5 ऑप्शंस, सम 4, सम 8, दैट इन इटसेल्फ काइंड ऑफ मेक्स इट डिफिकल्ट. So that was my English section. So sorry.
So any idea, ma'am, 80 minutes, out of 80 minutes, how much time a student should have spent in verbal?
Sir, 80 minutes में 25 minutes लग जाने वाले थे, 20 to 25 minutes in verbal. क्योंकि मैं खुद भी कर रही थी तो मुझे लगे थे अराउंड 20 मिनट्स, तो आई अज्यूम कि लग जाएंगे 25 मिनट्स के करीब बच्चों को भी. so that amount of time you would have had to spend. But the good thing was जीके में आपको 30 seconds में एक क्वेश्चन हो जा रहा था, तो वो वहां से ऑफसेट सॉर्ट ऑफ हो जा रहा था. बट yes,
right, in GK I don't think we need more than 3 to 4 minutes, 3 minutes to solve 10 questions, because you read the question, either you know or you don't know. So
actually sir, जीके के क्वेश्चंस बहुत मतलब डुएबल थे, तो you look at them and then you're done. That was how it was.
Okay, ठीक है. So right amount of minutes for verbal, it was around 25-30 minutes. ठीक है.
डाइवर्जेंट एंड कन्वर्जेंट थिंकिंग पे आते, जिसमें फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन में ही मैं स्टम्प हो गई. मैं कहा ये मुझसे नहीं होगा. Generally I'm good at reasoning, but questions were tricky.
Right. So basically, direction based question, it was very lengthy. Okay. It wasn't a simple question that somebody goes from left to right, or it's not a typical direction based question. Okay, these are the types of direction based questions which any other exam would rather put it in a set format. So time consuming, lengthy. So it was something that it should not have been attempted. Okay, but see, that MICAT checks that. So it's like most of these aspirants will be preparing for other exams where they are used to direction based questions and they should be pretty good at it. So direction
Right.
वाला क्वेश्चन दे दो आप, बच्चा उसको अटेम्प्ट करेगा ही करेगा और फंसेगा ही फंसेगा and will waste a lot of money sitting there.
एग्जैक्टली वो फंसेगा इसमें, यहाँ पे तो कीवर्ड्स फंस जाओगे.
Right?
So that will be true.
Then we had match the following: coding based, verbal based, where we had 2 columns, and the options were a typical GRE type ke, the first wala option or the word on the left hand side, it matches with which one on the right hand side. So a typical match the following. It was a moderate one. Around I think half of the total could have been attempted.
Yes, yes.
The next one was I'll do with square arrangement and data arrangement. So square arrangement, like I said before, there were 8 people, then age-based related non-numerical were there. So since it was non-numerical, it made it lengthy. And there were 8 additional info. 8 additional info, हम लोग उसको easy कभी नहीं समझते. And when we have 8 people also, up to 6 or 7, 6 tak it is always doable and it is considered as easy to moderate. Anything above that is always considered to be moderate or difficult. So that's what it was. So even half, मतलब 3 में से अगर 1 भी कर लिया ना, तो that was like चलेगा. It was that type. Blood relations was easy because there is nothing much we can play with blood relation based questions. So it was little lengthy. It was symbol based, so people who have practiced with symbol based, unke liye this will do.
Yes. I generally liked blood relation questions, but वो symbol based में बनाना पड़ता है मुझे, तो मैंने बनाया तो मेरा हो गया था. तो yes, I felt it was doable, but थोड़ा वही time लग रहा था, बनाना पड़ा. But I'm also very slow at these things, so yes.
Okay, so Suresh has a query. So MICAT 2 registration, what is the last date? Yeah, it's still going on.
It's still going on.
And I think they have extended the MICAT 2 registration until 7. That's right. They generally extended MICAT 2 registration, but it is still going on.
It is still going on.
Okay. Coding decoding word based. So it was doable given the fact that if no one has attempted the previous set based questions, if they had spent time over there, then it was not worth attempting one question और उसके लिए 3-4 minute waste करो. So if anyone would have went after the कौन से थे blood relations वाले question, let's say that was easy one. Then we had comparison based, square arrangement, data arrangement. That was a moderate one. Before that we had coding based, verbal based, which was also a moderate one. अगर ये सब attempt करा है, तो I don't think anyone should have gone after coding decoding word based, because letter based encoding decoding is easy. जैसे A की जगह Z लिखा हुआ है, and instead of C, if we have X, so we know that we are looking at first digit from the left, first letter from the left, and first letter from the right in the alpha series. But it was a word base, so it's not only about the letters getting coded to something else, but it's also about the position at which they are getting encoded. So definitely a moderate one. Then we had easy alphanumeric series, simple सा था. मैंने इसे पहले बताया, there were 3 letters and 1 digit. 4 words were given and then we had to figure out the 5th one. Analogies, symbol and number based. इसका आपको कुछ याद है मैम?
नहीं सर, मुझे नहीं याद है, सॉरी. मुझे ये याद है कि थे, लेकिन मुझे बिल्कुल ये नहीं याद है कि क्या था, क्योंकि मैं लगी हुई थी इंग्लिश में.
So it was like once after it was read, it was, it felt like it was so difficult that it was not worth attempting or reading much into it. So again, people are like, we are good with reasoning. Abhi and MAT de rakha hai, snap diya hai. So snap ke mocks de rahe. So they are like, we are good with this. Par wo the nahi. It was on the difficult side.
All the questions are interestingly in this divergent and convergent thinking, they were sort of lengthy and sort of time taking, you know. So that was the challenge here, कि वो 80 मिनट्स हैं लेकिन 80 मिनट्स थे नहीं, लग रहा था जैसे इंस्टेंटली फ्लाई ऑफ कर गए. तो अगर आप बहुत फास्ट करो तब कर सकते थे, बट वो हो नहीं रहा था उतना फास्ट. सो दैट वाज द प्रॉब्लम देयर.
So same thing, coding, decoding, and analogy वाले जो दोनों questions हैं, as in all the three questions, it's about luck. If you're looking at the encoding, decoding, and if you instantly get how the letters are changing and what is the sequence change, तो आपको तुरंत हो जाएगा. But that will come with a lot of practice, and I'm not sure anyone has done encoding, decoding to that level, because it is of course not an easy level the way NMAT or let's say Snap gives. So MICAT के लिए, I don't think a lot of aspirants they actually prepare to that level just for MICAT, because any other exam you will not get such kind of reasoning questions.
तो मुझे एक क्वेश्चन याद आया तो मैंने लिख दिया यहाँ पे. एक उन्होंने एक वर्ड दिया था स्पार और एक दिया था डिमाइज, और दोनों के एक एक कोड दिए थे और फिर बोला था गो का कोड बताओ, और 8 ऑप्शंस थे. तो ये बहुत ही ट्रिकी हो गया था.
हाँ, so it's more like write down the sequence and then somehow figure out SPAR is a 4-letter word and we have got EVWT, so आपको देखना पड़ेगा. And of course in S and
वाला था पूरा.
हाँ, so S and R are consecutive, right? And V and W are consecutive. So आपको एक idea लग गया कि the last two comes at the center, right? E and T थोड़े हैं. So it was obviously a difficult one.
हाँ, ये था सर. अब इसमें आपके पास ऑप्शंस थे, TK, LJ, JL, LJ, ऐसे करके 8 ऑप्शन दे दिए थे. अब लगाते रहो. So that was there, which was slightly tricky. And
so I'll say for MICAT, for example, what AD is saying. So for MICAT, I'll completely agree that the paper pattern is very different from CAT, but if you come to level of difficulty of the paper, it is definitely more than CAT. As in, एक question के लिए you have to prepare so much, and the level of difficulty is never easy. It's always at least moderate. और आपकी speed भी चाहिए, बहुत speed चाहिए.
बिल्कुल सर, एब्सोल्युटली. बहुत चैलेंजिंग था ये वाला सेट.
So visual reasoning was again, like I said, if you can look at it and you can quickly grasp as to what is the pattern being followed in the symbols, it's easy. Otherwise, ये नहीं पल्ले पड़ने वाला. So it was again on the moderate and difficult side. Mathematical inequalities, symbol based. So it was not a direct. So in greater than, less than, they were disguised as symbols. So it is time consuming. That's why it's moderate. It's not that it was not solvable. Okay. I believe a lot of people would not have been able to, attempt the last questions of that section. वो वहां तक पहुंच ही नहीं पाएंगे. उसके पहले they were like कि इसको छोड़ो यार.
बट सर पता क्या, ये इसमें क्या होता है ना, MICAT में सेक्शन आप खुद मूव करते हो, तो वो सेक्शन मतलब जैसे विद इन दैट 80 मिनट्स ये जो 70 क्वेश्चंस है ये इसमें सबमिट नहीं होगा. जब 80 मिनट्स हो जाएगा तो पूरा सेक्शन, पूरा चारों सेक्शन एक साथ सबमिट हो जाएंगे. तो आपको खुद ही डिसाइड करना है कि आप कहाँ जाओगे, कहाँ कौन से क्वेश्चंस करोगे, क्या चैलेंज है आपके लिए.
सेम एज दैट,
वो और एक डिफिकल्ट चीज है.
Same as that, it's like an offline paper. You can move across questions and across sections.
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying. If students would have dedicated, I'm going to spend these many minutes in this particular section, I'm saying by the time they reach until the end of the section, तब तक time खत्म होने को होगा. They would have quickly jumped over to the next section they have prioritized. So last के questions बहुत लोग के छूटे होंगे.
बिल्कुल छूटे होंगे, पक्का एकदम छूटे ही होंगे. Alright, so what will you say, sir? इसका क्या approximate cut off होगा? Around 10.
मैम
मतलब doable तो हम लोगों ने लिखे ही हैं 10, 11 तो.
हाँ, so last year also it was little above 50%. So 25 questions थे ना हमारे, 30 questions थे divergent and convergent thinking. Last year. 20.
अच्छा last year. हाँ, sorry.
Last year there were 30 questions.
जी.
So
हाँ जी.
So 30 questions में the cutoff was expected to be around 15, 16. The thing was the paper was easier, पर आपके पास क्वेश्चन ज्यादा थे, so that required another level of speed. Easier मतलब तभी से easy थोड़े से थे, but still it was moderate. इस बार तो at least it's moderate difficult some of the questions. Last year it was moderate. Very few questions were easy ones. So I think 10, 11 is it's a good score, as in good attempt. Sorry. ठीक
नेक्स्ट
है.
पे आ जाते हैं सर, QADI, द वाटरलू ऑफ मैनी अ पीपल.
So number based, I remember only one of the questions. The topic that we generally do not prepare for any exam, but only for that, it was a base system based question. Now, a base system is a topic which requires a lot of effort and a lot of time to get a hold of it. But a question, tha. So I don't know if it was worth it or not. Okay, I don't remember the other question. I think this one doable question was definitely not the base system one, because a lot of students are not in touch with the base system. Okay. In algebra, we had two questions. One was unexpectedly, it was a question on quadratic, but it had asked something about variance. Now, that was one question where students, if they have no idea about variance, if they have never studied stats, they will most likely leave it. So I think that one descriptive doable question जो है वो आपका है एक, this was second question in algebra which was AP based, where they had given us sum of three numbers as 12, the sum of their squares as 96, and sum of their harmonics as 36. We had to find out some of the cubes of the numbers. So वो एक doable था. Variance one, I'm going to keep it aside, assuming that most of us do not remember the formula for variance. Geometry, there were three questions, and there was one question that was based on polygons, one question that was based on rectangle, which was doable. That was one question, and another question was ABCD square hai, and we had to generate a regular hexagon out of it. So the square one was not doable. It was time consuming. If somebody would have done such a question before while practicing for other competitive exams, usko answer most likely yaad hoga. Otherwise, rectangle wala question and polygon wala question was direct because they were formula based. So आपको बस values put करनी थी, assume करनी थी, आपको answer आ जाता. That was not possible when it came to that regular hexagon wala question from square ABCD. There was coordinate geometry based question which was on straight line, okay, which was not doable at all given that ये तो सिंगलेट्स है सारे के सारे, उस पे आप 3-4 मिनट वेस्ट नहीं कर सकते, सो क्वाइट डिफिकल्ट, छोड़ने वाला था. PNC was a moderate one, probability was a difficult one. So overall, out of these two questions, कोई एक ही कर सकते थे. So if person is comfortable with probability, the student will go with it. Now, this probability wala question was more like it was a set theory based. So, and it was a three sets wala. So 3 sets, set theory based. Obviously, it's time consuming to draw the circles and the representation. Along with it, there was probability involved. I would not say directly probability. It was more like, 100 में से the share was 91 for this. This was the ratio, right? So ये उस टाइप का था. Yes, somebody else also had the same thing. So wait for the scorecard, you'll get to know. So for some of them, they are claiming that it gets saved, okay, if you have marked it and even if you have not saved it. And as far as we know that sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. तो अब तो scorecard ही बताएगा.
हाँ, वो तो
Okay.
पता चलेगा. Once we get the result, then we'll come to know.
So arithmetic was, I would say, something that was moderate because it was little time consuming, but at least 3 questions were doable. So time and work was 3 people based on days and efficiency logic, and then they are working alternatively. So that made it difficult. As in time consuming हो गया. अगर वो together direct पूछते हैं तब तो आसान था. But they have asked us, they are working for alternate days. SICI doable, mixtures doable. I think TSD was boards and streams. That was doable. We had averages ka question and partnership ka. So I think at least 4 questions were doable. Okay. Bar graph income expense based, a typical DI set that was expected from MICAT, जो कि moderate level हमेशा होता है. Definitely should have attempted it. At least half of the questions were doable out of this 4.
So sir, what would you
So
say? क्या क्या कितना करना चाहिए था
I
बच्चों
think
को?
10 questions तक हो जाने चाहिए थे.
Okay.
10 questions तक doable थे, because I am pretty sure that people would have spent enough time in QA, or they generally practice more on it. So that's what they should attempt. Students can write in the chat as to how many questions they attempted in each of the sections. That will give us a fairly good idea as to what we are expecting, how many questions you would have attempted and how many you did. It will be a good comparison.
Yeah, that's such a good idea. I think a lot of people here are people who are planning for MyCat too. So total
So, Odi,
20 attempts.
Are you telling you're talking about only the third section, right? Okay. आगे चलते हैं, जनरल अवेयरनेस देख लेते हैं.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल सर एकदम. So GK I think was fairly easy and very doable also. जो questions थे मतलब कर सकते थे. जो पहला question था that was very easy. What is austerity measure? And then they'd given you 4 options. क्या है government को मतलब government has to stop spending. Yeah, that was something like that. Option was as easy as that. So very doable. The second question, which was a logo based question, there were 4 companies, I think SAIL, Jindal, some Nazara, and there was one IFRC or something. Unke logos de rakhe the, and you have to match. Now I am very bad at GK, so obviously I skipped it. So I didn't do that. So I felt that वो थोड़ा सा tough था because logos थोड़े से tricky थे. So Jindal yes was very recognizable.
Sale
बाकी
also.
हाँ सेल ऑल्सो. बाकी दोनों थोड़े से कॉम्प्लिकेटेड लग
तो
रहे
एक
थे.
ऑप्शन तो रहा होगा कि 2 अननोन कंपनीज का दे वुड हैव स्वैप्ड द सिंबल
हाँ तो वो
लोगोस.
ट्रिकी था मतलब इसलिए. कोक स्लोगन वाला बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग क्वेश्चन था. सो दे हैड गिवन 8 slogans and they said which of these is not a coke slogan or hasn't been over the period of years. So when I started looking at it, ये तो था, but you have to have a really long memory or you have to have
Yes.
specifically studied all the coke slogans. So I won't say very easy, I won't say very difficult. Then
So
there
it's
were
tricky
4.
because they jumble up the words as well, no? So
Exactly.
that makes it difficult.
Exactly. Then the next question had 4 company names. One was Haptic, one was First Cry, one was Find, FYND, and then there was one Grab. And they said which of these are owned by Reliance. So I did not. I found it to be very difficult. What
So
these companies were haptic, I thought was just touch and something like that, but questions were tricky. Then this one was an okay question that OTT laws now come under which regulatory body. So there was Prasar Bharati, there was Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, and there was Indian Broadcasting Federation, and there was some other organization. So that was slightly tricky. मर्जर्स के 4 स्टेटमेंट्स दिए थे. सो भारती एयरटेल मर्ज विद zen tv, zen tv, no, ZAIN, some South African company. Amazon took over Big Basket. Tata took over Air India, and there was one Vodafone and Idea together became V. And then you had to identify which one of these is incorrect. So that clearly was Amazon and Big Basket. So very okay. We know that Big Basket is Tata and not Amazon. So that was an okay question. Then this brand ambassador was an okay question. Lewis Hamilton is a brand ambassador of which company? McLaren and Mercedes and Ferrari and one more that they had asked. So,
F1 lovers.
F1 lovers, yes, absolutely. Whoever is an F1 lover would have found that doable. Then the next question was very difficult because they gave you 8 names and they
Oh,
asked which of these has got the maximum number of MVPs in NBA. Now,
okay.
NBA one, we are not following. Two, we know one or two of the names, so I was able to recognize Magic Johnson and a couple more. But to know which one has maximum number of MVPs, I think was pretty difficult. I guess for even the students also it would have been difficult because counting in India, I think if they had given us Sachin Tendulkar or cricket related questions, वो जल्दी हो जाते थे. NBA कहाँ ही follow कर रहे हैं तो मेरे को लगा
Yes,
ये
and
थोड़ा
specifically, sorry.
बहुत स्पेसिफिक था, बहुत ही स्पेसिफिक.
Specifically, I just saw that the maximum number of MVP in MBA is by a person which was way back in 1955-56. So it's not like LeBron or कोई अभी recent,
हाँ, लेब्रॉन
upcoming
का नाम भी
players.
था
Yeah.
उसमें.
It is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, which
Oh, okay.
was way back, 70, 80 years ago now.
Yeah, so you
So
had to really know it. You have to follow NBA. Sir, कहाँ NBA हम लोग कहाँ follow कर रहे हैं? And I don't think our students are also following NBA with that passion. Maybe if it's cricket or football, then yes. NBA very very
and
specific. So,
And also, had it been in the last 10, 8 years, wala, to it still would have made sense.
yes,
Students who are in their 20s, early
they
20s,
would have
they would have
known.
started watching 10 years ago. So, yes, 70-year-old MVP title won't make sense. Right? So it was difficult, definitely.
Yes. Then this was the second question which had something with Tata. So there were 4 statements and they said which of these, how many of these are correct. So the questions were statements were easy. So Tata was founded in this year by Jamshedji Tata, and who's the fifth CEO of TCS, and N Chandrasekharan is the president of the Tata Group. And there was one more that Tata Sons took over Air India, something like that. So there were 4 sentences to identify how many of these were correct. So which could have been done because Tata, of course, most of us would have known. तो वो कर सकते थे. और लास्ट वाला तो बहुत ट्रिकी था because there were 4 companies: Cisco, Cartier, Gatorade, and Tag Heuer, and you had to
Hmm.
match the slogans of these companies. तो टैग हॉयर शायद पता भी होता. कार्टियर, सिस्को, गैटोरेड. आप बताइए सर.
No
कौन सा
idea, man.
वाला?
No idea. I'll have to
एग्जैक्टली.
look at it and, eliminate options जितना भी कुछ याद है.
हाँ, बस वही हो सकता था और वो भी डिफिकल्टी लग रहा था. सो आई फेल्ट दैट दिस वाज अ ट्रिकी क्वेश्चन, बट 5 क्वेश्चंस कर सकते थे आराम से, which would have just kind of sorted you out for this. So there's another question, sir, Aditi Verma ka. Aditi is asking, I couldn't attempt 8 questions in psychometric. Will it affect anything? I don't
Ma'am,
think so.
normally psychometric tests may it is not specifically ever said that it is mandatory, but it is understood that a candidate should answer all the psychometric test questions.
Yes.
Reason being, it doesn't get added in the final score or something like that. It's not a part with the depending on that they decide should we take you in or not. It's not about that. It's about the readiness of the exam that they want to check. But some of the exams they have got this criteria that psychometric complete pass nahi kara agar aapne. It's not about solving all the questions, but if you're not able to pass psychometric, that means we will not look at your further section or we will not check your paper at all. मतलब अगर आपने बहुत झूठ बोल दिया, you tried to be the superman, the most ideal guy there, ठीक है,
तो पकड़े जाओगे.
हाँ पकड़े गए तो they will be like कि you're bluffing, so they may not evaluate your entire paper. When it comes to MICAT, I have no idea, but I'm saying in general, Aditi, that's what psychometric test is about when it comes to an exam.
It's a personality profiling test. So therefore, if you have missed 8 questions, uh,
Not a
I
deal,
don't think
big
they
deal,
will just. Huh. I
not a
don't
big
think
deal,
they'll
but
just
you
throw
must
you under
have
the bus. But,
जितने भी कर रहे हैं उससे आपका प्रोफाइल पता चलना चाहिए that you have passed the psychometric test. So it's not about
yes.
solving all. ठीक है. So
Alright, sir.
overall,
Final
overall,
बताइए sir, take आपका, what should the cutoffs be? Around
um, I think the overall cutoff should be, see, psychometric और इसको अगर हटा दे तो 60 ले लेते हैं, 60, 75, difficult,
around
25,
हाँ, around 25
22
मेरा भी.
to 25.
हाँ, हाँ.
Because there will be very, very good students, because obviously MICA chooses the cream. Very good students would have done very well when it comes to divergent, convergent thinking and verbal ability, and not so much in QA and DI.
Yes.
And that's fine with MICAT.
Because there are no, as in they're really not bothered about that. So you just need a score maximization. So around 25, if you do
22
well
to
in
25. Right.
So that's I think we'll wrap up the session.
Sure.
So very quick announcement, of course. Test series, please enroll. The PDP is started. Please join. I'm just going to, online classes for Snap 24 are going on. Please register. Also ZAT 2025, because that's going to be the next exam. Also remember, tomorrow we will be doing a Snap analysis. So do make sure you are here. We are writing our Snap. I'm writing it 4 to 4:30 to 5:30. So after that, we are having the Snap analysis. Do join. And ZAT online classes have already started. So make sure you're joining in. There's lots that is happening. Thank you so much, guys.
Okay, so Kishan, we were not expecting, because the number of questions have increased. Overall, the number of questions have increased because of psychometric as compared to last year. But the number of questions decreased when it comes to third section. We were not expecting such a difficult one. So when it comes to MICAT 2, we will definitely be upgrading our tests, the mocks that we are providing. The paper was completely unexpected. See, the only exam which we consider to be more difficult than CAT is, ZAT. And it's only because of the kind of questions that they throw at you. It's either very easy or it's either very difficult. So this paper was very, very unexpected one. No one was expecting such a difficult paper.
And don't worry, we are going to retweak our papers for you. So you will get, for MICAT 2, you will find mocks that will match this level also. So don't worry. Let's test you out and make sure you crack the second MICAT. It's still there, so.
Okay.
All right, sir. That's it then. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for joining in. I hope this session was helpful. Do join in for Snap tomorrow. Bye-bye.